community, thank you for standing with us. We sense your love and we sense your care for people who might be your neighbors nearby or your neighbors far away from you. Every single immigrant is a human. Every single immigrant has every single right to have their families stay together.
We'll fight to abolish ICE.
Immigrants are welcome here.
Immigrants are welcome here. We're going to abolish ICE. We're going to abolish ICE in your neighborhoods.
Chicago just sent a loud message to Donald Trump, and folks, he didn't like it one bit. The so-called law and order president thought he could stage another invasion, rile up communities, and use fear as his playbook. But this time, it collapsed right in front of him. What we're watching isn't strength, it's desperation. Trump wanted control, but Chicago gave him resistance, and now he's spiraling. Here's the truth. Trump's two-pronged plan was never about safety. It was about provoking chaos. Step 1, flood the city with ICE agents, raiding courthouses, stalking women outside domestic violence hearings, and pushing families to the breaking point.
Witnesses tell us that agents took at least one person into federal custody ahead of their scheduled court appearance. Our Sabrina Francis has been looking into that case. Sabrina, victim advocates are saying that this has people turning away from their scheduled appearances.
Marie, it would appear that's already happening. We were standing in the lobby of this courthouse today, and while we were there, folks were asking for people who would otherwise be in court, whether they be defendants or plaintiffs in cases that were heard today. Those people were not there, and the reason given, they were too afraid to be there. The courthouse at 555 West Harrison opens at 8:30 each weekday. One woman, whose name we are withholding because of the nature of her case, was set to appear at 9 a.m. We're told she didn't make it there. She was arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, according to this court document. Witnesses say they saw this man, who they believe to be a federal officer, assist in her arrest outside the courthouse about 15 minutes before her scheduled time to appear. A victim advocate asked why she was being arrested and told us an agent said, quote, "We're going to speak to her about her immigration status," before putting the woman in handcuffs.
Next is step 2, when fear turns into protest. Swoop in with military force and sell it as restoring order. That's the playbook of every authoritarian regime in history, and Trump copied it line by line. But here's where it blew up. Chicago refused to take the bait. Leaders made it clear. Protests will be peaceful, voices will be strong, and the people won't give him the excuse he's begging for. That's why you saw his plan crumble before it even started. Now, let's talk about what this really reveals. Trump has no answers for jobs, no solutions to poverty, no concern for healthcare or education, so he manufactures a crisis. He strips away violence prevention funding, cuts programs that give people opportunities, and then points to the predictable fallout as justification for his increase in militarization. Think about it. He creates the problem and then claims he's the only one who can solve it with boots on the ground, with unmarked vans, and with intimidation. That's not leadership. That's failure dressed up in a uniform. And the people of Chicago, especially survivors and advocates on the front lines, are seeing right through it. And while he's playing dictator, let's not forget about the bigger picture either. This is a man who's slashed $800 million meant to prevent violence in communities like Chicago. He claims to want safer streets, but what really makes people safe isn't tanks or troops on the ground. It's access to healthcare, mental health support, food on the table, and jobs that pay enough to build a future. Ask anyone who's actually lived on the South Side, anyone who's been scared by gun violence, what they actually want. No one says, "Oh, give me soldiers in my neighborhood." They say, "Give me an opportunity, give me dignity, give me a system that works." Trump's refusal to deliver that is why communities stand taller against him every single day. And here's the bottom line. Donald Trump doesn't care about safe communities. Not really. He doesn't care about victims of violence or families living paycheck to paycheck. What he cares about is his optics, the headlines, and the illusion of control. Chicago exposed the game. He tried to script his invasion, and instead, he collapsed. What we're witnessing is a wannabe strongman running out of tricks, out of excuses, and out of time. The people aren't afraid anymore, and that's Trump's worst nightmare. Trump's obsession with Chicago wasn't about safety or law enforcement. It was about optics for his base. He needed a new enemy to distract from his collapsing economy and disastrous job numbers. Instead of taking responsibility, he pointed fingers at cities like Chicago and said, "Look, crime is out of control. I'll fix it." But here's the problem. His so-called fixes obviously don't work. Deploying ICE and threatening the military on them doesn't rebuild trust between communities and police. It doesn't reduce poverty or crime. It doesn't give kids a safe future. What it does is feed a narrative of fear and division that Trump thrives on. He wants the headlines, the images of agents in camouflage on American streets to sell the illusion of power and strength. But all it really shows is weakness, an administration that has no answers besides brute force. Chicago residents know their city isn't perfect, but they also know Trump's cure is worse than the disease. They don't need tanks. They need jobs and justice. And that's why his narrative keeps collapsing, because people are living the truth every day, and it doesn't match his lies. What really collapsed overnight wasn't merely Trump's invasion. It was the credibility of his leadership. You can only cry emergency so many times before people stop believing you. He said cities were burning. They weren't. He said violence was everywhere. It wasn't. He said only a federal force could save America. And the people of Chicago proved him wrong by standing their ground peacefully. That exposed the fraud. He tried to manufacture a crisis to justify authoritarian measures, but when the crisis never even materialized, the plan fell apart. Think about how dangerous that is. A president deliberately escalating fear, hoping communities explode so that he can step in as the so-called savior. That's not leadership, that's manipulation. And once exposed, it leaves him with nothing but empty threats. People saw the game. They saw the ICE vans. They saw the intimidation. And they saw nothing come of it but hate and fear. That collapse isn't only in Chicago, it's national. His credibility is shot, his scare tactics don't land anymore, and every failed emergency makes him look more desperate. Chicago was the turning point, and the whole country is starting to see the emperor has no clothes. And now, here's the consequence. Trump's collapse in Chicago signals a broader collapse of trust in his ability to actually govern. Communities know what real safety looks like. Strong schools, affordable healthcare, good jobs, opportunities to build a better life. Every expert, every survivor, every advocate says the same thing. Yet Trump keeps doubling down on militarization as if parading soldiers through neighborhoods will heal systemic wounds. It won't. Chicago showed us the contrast clearly. Local leaders talking about prevention, opportunity, and dignity, while Trump ranted about domination and control. People know which side they're on.
ICE agents have made Chicago the latest target of major immigration enforcement.
The Illinois governor says that agents could raid parts of the city as early as tomorrow. Fox's Asher Red is live in Chicago. And Asher, state officials say there's really nothing they can do to stop it.
Well, Caroline and Rashi, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker says state police got a call from an ICE official indicating that up to 300 ICE agents would deploy to Chicago soon. Pritzker warns that unidentifiable agents in unmarked vehicles are planning to raid the city's Hispanic neighborhoods in the coming days. Now, federal officials are setting up office space at a nearby naval station about 35 miles north of the city. They're also using an ICE office in nearby Broadview, Illinois, as an ICE processing facility, and it'll operate for at least 45 days.
Be extra careful and know that there is the possibility that ICE will be on the ground and causing some mayhem. Don't play into their hand, and if you have the opportunity, please protest. Pull out your phone, video everything that they're doing, whether it's an iPhone, an Android, whatever you've got, and make sure that the media sees it.
They know exactly who shows up to help and who slashes the funding, only to turn around and blame the very people that they abandoned. That's why Trump's entire strategy is collapsing. Fear fades, reality doesn't. Families are still struggling to pay rent, kids still need safe places to grow, and workers still demand fairness, none of which he delivers. None of that is answered by Trump's empty show of power. His playbook is chaos, division, and neglect. Chicago exposes him, the authoritarian theatrics that can't hide failed leadership. People see through the lies, and once the fear tactic stops working entirely, there's nothing left. That's the danger for Trump. The moment the people stop buying the performance, his grip on power completely unravels. Chicago wasn't only resistance, it was a warning shot to him that his old tricks won't save him anymore, no matter how loud he yells.